Now that we've covered mean, mode, median, and range, we're going to go back, and in 6.3 we're going to look at some special cases with zeros and negatives. You kind of hinted at negatives a little bit. We may have seen a zero here or there. We're going to look at special cases. Just some reminders, some tips, some tricks. Imagine that you run a store, and we're looking at your daily profits for 1 week and then the second. Let's compare the weekly averages from week 1 to week 2. Well, if I need to find the mean, the mode, the range, and the median, first thing I need to do is put these values in order. Now, if I'm looking at negatives, I need to think less is more. The smallest value may have the biggest digit. So I'm going to look at negative 45, negative 32, and negative 35, and there's also negative 26. Less is more. Negative 45, I just looked at that. 45 seems like a big number, but it's really small because it's negative. Now I need to look at my other negatives. If I'm looking at a series of negatives in order like this, I'm really counting backwards. Trick your brain to think counting backwards as far as the digits go. We're not actually counting backwards, we're counting forwards. But negatives are so tricky, we want to see them and treat them like positive numbers. Do not. So we need to think less is more. The next biggest negative digits, 35. Another way to think about it is with negatives, the bigger the absolute value, so the further away from 0. Negative 32 would go next. Negative 26 would go next. Now, I'm done with negatives. 0 would come before any positive values. Remember, 0 is that neutral value. It's that buffer. It's right in the middle. 60 and 70. Well, I have 60 because it's now in positives. Positives make sense. Positives are easy. 70 is next, or 75 is next. I started with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. I ended with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to find the mean first. A quick calculator moment. I'm going to add up my values. So I just pulled out my calculator. I have negative 45. Now you can either add negative 35 or subtract 35, subtract 32, subtract 26. I can add my 0, even though, as we know, it's not really going to make a difference. Add my 60, add my 75, and I end up with negative 3. So my sum is negative 3. I just said that there were 7 values. So negative 3 divided by 7, this is all calculator moments right here. You should get negative 0.43. Now this is a word problem, so we need to make sure that I put a dollar sign on there. Negative 43 cents. My mode. The mode is the value that appears the most often. Let's look for repeating values. Negative 45, there are none. Now again, these are in numeric order, so my repeating values will be right next to each other. Negative 35, nope. Negative 32, it's the only one. Doesn't repeat, doesn't repeat, doesn't repeat, doesn't repeat. There is no mode. We said that if there's no values that repeat, it's okay to have no mode. The range. Now range you need to be very careful with negatives. The range, you take the biggest value minus the smallest value. So let's write out that work so we can see what it would look like. If I took the big value, a lot of people want to say, oh, well, it's negative 45, so it's 75 minus 45. But I'm subtracting the smallest value. The smallest value is negative 45. If we subtract a negative, we need to watch those negatives. We need to change to plus a positive. 75 plus 45 gives me $120. To find the median, we already have numeric order, left, right, left, right, left, right. My value's right in the middle. There are not 2, so it's right in the middle, negative 26. Let's look at this next set of examples. So for week 2, these are our profits. I'm going to write these values in order. Again, start with your negatives. I only have 1 this week. So I did better this week, which is good. Negative 10. Before I can start with my positives, I need to get my zeros. There's 2 of them. 1, 0. Another 0. Now I look at my positives. I don't see any single digits. I don't see any 10s. 20. They're set are in the 20s range. 25. There aren't any 30. Oh, there's a 30 right there. 39. I don't see any values in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Oh, 80s. 85. There's only one value left. It's way up there at $250. I must have had a good day at my store. Now, just like last time, I already have my numbers in numeric order. It's a good place to be. I want to start with my mean. I'm going to add everything up. Negative 10 plus 0 plus 0 plus 25 plus 39 plus 85 plus 250. I end up with 389. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 days in a week, 7 values. So I do 389 divided by 7. You should get $55. Again, we're dealing with a word problem, so you have to have a unit. $55 and 57 cents. The mode is the value that appears the most. Again, look for repeating sets of values. Negative 10's all by itself. I see 2 zeros next to each other. 25's by itself. 39's by itself. 85's by itself. 250's by itself. So my mode is 0. It's possible to have a mode of 0. My range, I'm going to cross out left. Oops, sorry. Range is subtraction. So I'm going to do 250 minus negative 10. You take the big value, watch your negatives. 250 minus negative 10. When I have minus a negative, it's really plus a positive. 250 plus 10 is 260. Now, even though I jumped the gun on it before, we're going to go into the median. Left, right, left, right, left, right. My median should be $25. And again, I know I don't have to take the mean on that because it's an odd set. It's 7. It's only when you have an even set of values do you have to take a mean of the 2 middle values. Now, the reason I did all this, not only to review mean, mode, median, and range, we're going to have a little think, pair, share. So right now, pause the video and think through these questions. What seems to change the most? Because we're really not looking at new calculations, we're just including zeros and negatives. Zeros and negatives sometimes can throw us off and confuse us. Do we do anything different? Did our calculations change? Did you notice anything? Why do you think that is? Why do we have to change anything? Why do we not have to change anything? So think on this, and we're going to discuss tomorrow in class. So pause and come back when you're ready to continue. Alright, welcome back. We're going to try a couple problems again, just looking at tips and tricks with negatives and zeros. So I'm going to write my numbers in numeric order. Again, with negatives, less is more. So let's walk through the negatives together on this one. I want to find, again, I'm using the wrong terminology, but this is how our brains work. The biggest negative, which really just means the smallest value, but it's the negative with the biggest digit. It's the number with the negative with the biggest absolute value. That's the way our brains tend to work for some reason with negatives. So you have negative 6, negative 4, because it's next. It's the next biggest negative with the biggest absolute value. Negative 4, again, because there's 2. Now, be careful. Don't put the 4 with the negative 4. They're different values. Negative 1, positive 1. Positive 2. Positives are easy. 3. Cross them as you go so you don't leave any values behind. And My mean, I add them all up. It's a calculator moment. I should get a sum of 0, because negative 6 plus negative 4 plus negative 4 plus negative 1 plus positive 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 gives me 0. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values. I'm going to divide that by 9. Now, does it matter what I divide by if my sum's 0? No. My mean is 0. My mode, I look for values that repeat. Now, negative 1 and positive 1. That's one of the big mistakes. Do not confuse negative and positives. They're not the same values. They are opposites, in fact. Just like negative 4 is way far away, numerically, from positive 4. I see two negative 4s. My mode is negative 4. To find the median, I just go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. There was an odd number of values, so I know that I shouldn't have to take a mean. And then my range, I take my biggest value, 5, and I subtract negative 6, my smallest value. When I subtract a negative, I have to add a positive. My range is 11. Again, we're looking at how far these values went. They went from negative 6 all the way to 0, and from 0 all the way to 5. That's a range of 11 values. Let's look at this next set. Always start by putting in numeric order. I'll put them in numeric order for us. Negative 30, negative 30, negative 25, negative 25, positive 25, 36, 49, 54. To find our mean, we add everything up. Quick calculator moment. Well, if I look, negative 30, I'm going to pull out my calculator and we'll add these up real quick together. I have negative 30. Biggest trick is making sure you're putting in the negatives. Plus negative 30, plus negative 25, plus negative 25, plus positive 25, plus positive 36, plus positive 49, plus positive 54. Think of each value as negative or positive. It'll get you in a good routine. I get a total sum of 54. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values. I divide 54 by 8, and I should get 6.75. For the mode, it's very easy. Find the values that repeat. They're next to each other. There's two negative 30s. There's two negative 25s. Be careful. That's a positive 25, not a negative 25. That's why it's very important to put the right sign with the right values. 25 doesn't repeat. 36, nope. 49, nope. 54, nope. I have two values that repeat. Negative 30 and negative 25. They each repeat the same amount. To find my median, I just cross out sides, moving in. Left, right, left, right. There's two values in the middle. I know that because there's an even set. There's 8. Negative 25 plus positive 25. I remember way back at the beginning of the year. When we add opposites, we get 0. Because I have two values, I need to add them up to get 0 and divide by 2. I need to take my mean. So I should get a median of 0. Range, take the biggest number and subtract. Don't forget to do the subtraction. This is why we show our work, to remind ourselves that that negative on the negative 30 is not the same as this subtraction sign right here. I'm adding 30. So I should get a range of 84. My values cover 84 values. On your own, try mean, mode, median, and range for this set of values. Pause the video. Show all your work, just like you saw me do. If your work does not look like this, you are not doing what you need to do. We can't give you credit without complete work. Pause the video. When you have answers, come on back. Welcome back. You did your job correctly. You should have negative 2.13. A mode of negative 5 and negative 8. There were two values that repeated themselves an equal amount. And you should have a median of negative 5. There were two values in the middle, so you should have taken the mean. If you did not get negative 5, make sure you went back and made sure that you took the mean. Range, you should have taken the biggest value, which was 12, and subtracted the smallest value, which is negative 10. You should have gotten positive 22. If you made a mistake with your mean, check to make sure you added it all correctly using the proper negatives. Make sure you divided by the proper amount of values. If you made a mistake with your mode, make sure that you wrote all the repeating values out when you wrote them in numeric order. If you made a mistake with your median, make sure you wrote all the values out in numeric order. Make sure that you crossed one on the left, one on the right, and ended up with two in the middle to take a mean. If you ended up with the wrong range, odds are you made a mistake with your negatives. The biggest value was 12. The smallest value was negative 10. You should not have done 12 minus 10. You should have done 12 minus negative 10. To kind of summarize a couple of the quick tips when it comes to negatives and positives. The biggest thing, be careful. Opposite values are not the same. Negative 10 does not equal positive 10. Easiest mistake to make. Easiest make. Let's look at zeros. We saw a couple zeros in it, but let's discuss a couple little tips here. When I add these up, 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 9 is 20, plus 0, well, that doesn't change. The 0 doesn't change it. These four numbers equal 20. These three numbers equal 20. 10, that's 30. Plus 0, still 30. Plus 6, I get 36. How many values are there? Even though the zeros didn't increase the sum, there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. Those zeros still count. So 36 divided by 7, you should get 5.1. So those zeros really affect the mean. It does not increase the total sum, but they count as a value still. We just looked at special cases of calculating the mean, the mode, the median, and the range. That includes zeros and negatives. Take a moment, rank out on a scale of 1 to 5 how well we hit our target today. If you don't feel that you got to this target, make sure that when we go over practice problems tomorrow and we do Fast and Studious, that you take time to ask questions. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in class.